toxic women. Are you one? It's going to be a long 6 months, and Shaq to the rescue.
Welcome to the Hopefulist, a daily talk show hosted by veteran broadcaster Wendy McClure. Join Wendy each day as she shares her life lessons that transformed her from perpetual pessimist to the ultimate hopefulist. The perfect morning show to get you caught up on the day's top stories while sharing insights that will lead to positive transformation and bring out the hopefulist in you. For more inspiration, visit Hopefulist.com. And now, here's your host and hopefulist, Wendy McClure.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in. Welcome to a Wednesday. It is July 15th, 2020, day 277 of Gotta Get On, Ellen. 14 more days until my speaking event. If you would like to come, please sign up. There is a link posted on the Facebook page. So Philly's shutting down all big gatherings until the end of February. What does this mean? This means no Thanksgiving parade, no Mummers parade, no fans at the football stadium, no marathons, no festivals. Wildwood, New Jersey has also canceled the Irish Fest in September, which is a huge event. Yeah, it sucks. It's the worst. It's not getting better. Remember when we thought quarantine was going to be 2 weeks? And here is what I have to say to all the people who really have been pushing for a reopening, and I think things are in a good place now. We can leave the house. We can go places. We wear our mask. And let me tell you, I was out and about yesterday. I had to wear that mask outside for quite a while. It is very uncomfortable. It is hot. Yeah, it's a pain. You know what else is painful? Sickness and death. Listen, I'm pro mask for the most part. I think that it's important. And what I had started to say is to all the people who say, if I don't want to wear a mask, I don't have to, you are correct. And, these are the same people who were saying, open everything up. If you're scared, stay home. It's that simple. Yes, but here's the issue. I have been staying home. I've been staying home since March. I've gone out from time to time. But yeah, for the most part, I'm going to err on the side of caution. But because everybody else is not, you're just pushing everything back for the rest of us. So I have no problem staying home for the amount of time that we are supposed to stay home. But when nobody else is following the rules and extending it longer and longer and longer, you are personally hurting me at this point. So don't say that you going out without a mask is not hurting me if I'm at home. You are hurting me because you're forcing me to stay home longer. I don't know. This is big news. Philly's shutting down all big gatherings for the next 6 months. I'm very afraid for football. I'm very afraid. There's already some colleges around here who have said there is not going to be any in-class learning for the fall semester. It's going to be all virtual. Are we ever going to see people again? I know this will pass, but when? Will they find a vaccine? When will they find a vaccine? The first estimates were January. It's a long time off. And how much is going to change in the meantime? How much are we going to get used to not seeing people face to face? Are we ever going to want to touch each other again? Is the next time we see a friend, is it going to feel so foreign to actually give a hug? We're just going to do away with them? I know that sounds extreme, but these are extreme times. These are extreme measures that we are going through right now. We have to all pull together and do what we're supposed to in order for it to get back to normal completely. Just my 2 cents. I'm going to be on the soapbox today all day. So if you're not in the mood for soapbox talk, this might not be the episode for you. A family in Florida, car broke down, stranded on the side of the road. Somebody pulls over to help. Who is it? It's Shaquille O'Neal. Could you imagine? You're like pulled over on the side of the road. You're like, oh, man, got to wait for AAA, whatever the situation may be. You're all sitting outside the car. Somebody pulls over and you see a big, tall, really tall person coming at you. And you're like, okay, he looks slightly familiar. And you hear a really deep voice. Hey, man, can I help you out? Well, sure, Shaq, you can help us out. My goodness. How come nobody ever stops me when I'm on the side of the road like this? You know, I get like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy when I'm pulled over on the side of the road, stranded. Been a while since I've been stranded on the side of the road. Knock on wood. So there's some fun, interesting news for you today. Wanted to talk about I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. Do you prefer ice cream or water ice? Now, I'll start with Marcy, because Marcy said ice cream, which it was, you know, a landslide. Ice cream, 99%. I had one person that said, depends on my mood. Sometimes water ice, sometimes ice cream. Other than that, it was all ice cream. Now, Marcy says, since I moved here from upstate New York, I've always had an issue with the term water ice. It's like saying bread toast. So that's a good point. She said, we always called it Italian ice. Okay. Gotcha. So Sandra says, ice cream, but what is water ice? She's not from around here. I said, it's flavored ice, basically. And she said, oh, a snow cone. And I said, well, sort of. Not shaved, though. It's a little different from a snow cone. Megan says 110% ice cream. Adele says depends on the day. Rosemary ice cream. Beverly put up a nice gif of a lovely lady very sensuously licking an ice cream cone. And Diane says, ice cream, no doubt. So I'm ice cream all the way. Every once in a while, I'll get a gelati, which is from Rita's Water Ice. It's a combination of ice cream and water ice, predominantly. Hopefully, depending on who makes it, it's mostly ice cream with a little bit less water ice. That's the way I prefer it. It's not always the way I get it. Honestly, I don't really go to Rita's anymore. When we lived in Pennsylvania, there was one right down the street. In fact, it was the original Rita's was in my neighborhood. The very first Rita's. And it's still open. It's still in business. It's a house. Somebody, the person who started Rita's Water Ice, started selling it literally out of their house. And they eventually turned the whole house into the ice cream or the water ice stand. And now they're everywhere. I don't think they're national, but there's a lot of them for sure. So that was pretty close to our house. So we could go there, get something, and drive home before it melted. Dairy Queen was a little further down the road, and if we wanted to eat it at home, we probably wouldn't make it. It would probably start to melt, so we would have to eat it there, which, I don't know, I just prefer to take it home. I do prefer Dairy Queen. I like their custard better than Rita's. There's something about Rita's which it's more airy or something. I feel like Dairy Queen's ice cream is a little more dense. I feel the same about Core Brothers as well. I feel like their ice cream's just a little too airy or something. It's not creamy enough for me. It's a little too much ice, if you get what I'm saying. But, you know, these are first world problems, right? We've got plenty of options and choices when it comes to ice cream. Joe and I basically have stopped going out for ice cream, which is a shame because I love me a soft serve vanilla cone. Nothing on it, just plain soft serve vanilla cone. But they're so expensive. I think it was the beginning of last summer. Joe and I had gone out to a place down the street, and we both got a cone. And it was like 8 something. I'm like, $8 and some odd cents for 2 ice cream cones? That's insane. So from that point on, we just started buying half gallons at ShopRite because you can get one for $2.50 and it'll feed us for 3 days. Give us dessert for 3 days. $2.50 for 3 desserts, well, 6 desserts, compared to 1 dessert for 8 something. But, you know, it is a treat when you go out and get a soft-serve cone because it is something you can't really do at home unless you have an ice cream maker. And I still don't know if it's the same, you know, but a couple of times a year we'll go out for an ice cream cone. We went out a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you saw the picture that I posted. I posted a picture of the Fruity Pebble ice cream cone that I had gotten. Big disappointment. Fruity Pebbles were completely stale. Was not good at all. And I'm still kicking myself for not going with my initial order of a soft serve cone. Live and learn, people. Stick with what you love. Today's blog post, it's going to be a tough one. Warning, I am going to get up on my soapbox today. I'm talking about toxic women. Are you one? I'm pulling the veil off how we treat each other. I'm going to ask you to look at your own behavior to determine if you are contributing to the problem. I think that we're all guilty on some level, most of us anyway, but to what extent is only something that you can answer. Women tearing each other down. It's an epidemic. It's brutal. We do it to our comrades when we say we want to see women become more successful. So is that really true? Do we want to see other women be successful if it's more success than we have ourselves? We are so freaking hard on each other. The judgment, the harsh comments, the catty remarks about our appearance. Now, there is nothing that bothers me more than when women are called catty. Puts us in a different category than men. It insinuates that we are bitter and nasty to our own counterparts. It's women tearing each other down. And I think what bothers me most about the term is that it's often true. We are so hard on each other. We are judgmental. We do rip other women to shreds for the mere fact that we don't like them. And here's what bothers me most. Men do not do this. They just don't. Nor do women do it to men. This is a woman-on-woman problem. Now, some women do it to men, but not to the same extent. It's just not the same. If we want to thrive and be taken seriously, we have to stop tearing each other down and hold each other up instead. If we as women can't support other women and take them seriously, how do we expect men to? As we continue to discuss removing toxicity from our lives, we have to start with our own behavior. Are you contributing to this problem of tearing other women down? Do you judge women in the spotlight harshly? Do you feel you can say whatever you want about them, no matter how vicious it may be? I decided to talk about this after seeing someone post in one of my book groups that they were reading Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. And man, most women in this post just ripped her to shreds. Judging everything from her upbringing to how she raises her kids to the type of person she is, how whiny she is, while at the same time tooting her own horn. She was accused of having a privileged upbringing. She didn't. And talking about herself too much to being a straight-out fraud. Now, you all know I'm a fan of Rachel, and this isn't intended to be some sort of defense of her. But when writing a book about your life experience, wouldn't it be likely that you're going to talk about yourself and your story? I'm using this post as an example of how we treat women on the whole. and the difference between how us women talk about other women as opposed to talking about men. Because I don't see women tearing down Tony Robbins or other men in the same sort of genre. I see people say they don't like him and call him a bragger, but I don't see his past being dissected or the way he lives his life or the personal attacks I see of the women doing the same sort of work. Here is another thing that completely baffles me. We say we want to see more successful women, but if those women say they are successful, they're crucified. Seriously. As women, we are still expected to act like our success is just mere luck, or we're blessed. No. Successful women work their asses off for their success, often much harder than men because it takes longer to catch up. But we aren't allowed to say we deserve the fruits of our labor. We're not allowed to pat ourselves on the back and be proud of our accomplishments, because if we do, we're braggers. We're tooting our own horn. We're too into ourselves. What? Men brag about their accomplishments all the time, and that's okay. Another example I see about Rachel all the time. She's very transparent about how she manages all that she does. She says straight out, I have help. She talks about how it disappoints her when she sees other successful women say they can do it all because they are organized and can balance it when you know they have nannies and a staff at home. Yet Rachel admits, I can't do it all. I have help. She said, I have a nanny. I have a house cleaner. Yet she's still crucified for not being able to do it all. Having someone else raise her kids and in a different league than the rest of us. Honestly, we can't win. No matter what we do, we are crucified for it. I am not innocent of these things by any means. I have been extremely harsh on some women, but I want to stop. Why do we feel the need to do this? Are we jealous? Are we threatened? Does it make us feel better to bash other women who are successful? I think we all want to see more successful business women in this country. So why do we make it so hard for them to do so? We tend to be harder on women who are transparent and live their lives publicly. We love them for being authentic, but we hate them for being authentic. My business, the Hopefulist, is modeled after the way Rachel does things. I am very open about my life now and in the past. I use examples from my own life to demonstrate how I have overcome obstacles in my life. I try to be as open and honest as possible in an effort to help people. I'm not trying to say my life was worse than anyone else's. I'm not trying to compare myself to anyone. I'm simply telling my story and how I've grown and improved my own life. But when I see the amount of hatred and vicious comments like I did yesterday in that thread about a woman who wrote her life story for the whole world to judge in an effort to help others, it seriously makes me rethink this line of work. I do not want to be the subject of such a thread. It honestly makes me stop and think seriously about continuing to do what I'm doing. I know that bad comes with the good, but there is just no reason to be so judgmental of other people in such brutal ways. Again, I will say, we do not treat men nearly as harshly. The saving grace is for all the hate being spewed about this particular woman. I know there are others who love and appreciate what she does. This is what I want and hope for myself. I want people to know my story, learn from it, make a better life for themselves. But at what cost? Why, ladies? I really need to understand why. Why do we continue to tear each other down like this while saying at the same time, we want to see more successful women in this country? Do you know the majority of comments of women on TV are about their appearance? not the work they do. It's the clothes they wear or how their hair looks. Men do not face the same type of scrutiny. And, it's the women who are making these comments, not the men. What makes us feel it's okay to say whatever we want about other women, no matter how rude or nasty it is? Why do we feel the need to tear them down? And so publicly. It's so disheartening. Are you guilty of this behavior? Are you contributing in some way? I'm not accusing. I'm asking. Examine the things you have said about successful women. Have they been supportive? Or have you begrudged them their success by verbally attacking them? Look, it's fine if you don't like someone. We can merely say, she's not for me, but you may like her stuff. But we tend to go into attack mode. Can't we just be happy that some women are breaking through the glass ceiling and giving men a run for their money? Why, instead of cheering them on, do we tear them down? I'm just wondering. Hey, y'all, I warned you I was on my soapbox today, but it is hump day. We are halfway to the freaking weekend. Now go out there and be a good badass. You know I'm cheering you on.
Thank you for listening to The Hopefulist, hosted by Wendy McClure. For more inspiration, please visit Hopefulist.com. Thanks, and we'll see you tomorrow on The Hopefulist.
Let's lift each other up, ladies. We can do it.